Speaking of bruisers, this is happening on the playground today. I just got that picture.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We call this April 6th council meeting order. Please rise and join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everyone for being here. Clerk Treasurer Price, will you please call the roll? Here.
Present.
Here.
Here. Here. All right, very good. Next item of business is going to be the meeting minutes submitted to the council for March 2nd. First, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion, a second. Any discussion, additions, subtractions, discussion for the board for the March 2nd common council meeting? Good. All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving the March 2nd Delphi Common Council meeting minutes, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Very good. First item of business is going to be presentation by Amy Webster. I don't know if Amy is present. Amy is present. Amy, if you'll come up to the platform, state your name, who you're with, and your please.
So my name is Jasmine Plunk. I'm with the Delphi Police Department Code Enforcement. I asked Amy to be here today to kind of talk a little bit and answer any questions about the chicken ordinance. I myself know nothing about chickens, so if I'm going to enforce it, I have to kind of know and answer some questions. So I'm gonna give the floor to her, and then if anybody also has questions, feel free to ask.
All right, so I am Amy Webster. I am the Ag and Natural Resource Educator for Purdue Extension for Carroll and Clinton County. So like Jasmine said, she did ask me to come. I don't so much have a presentation to show you, but just kind of talk a little, just a few things. They did just now hand me kind of your, I guess you are voting on this ordinance tonight or looking at it. So
Approved through the planning commission and moved to the state.
okay, so just here to answer any common poultry questions, the pros, the cons, if you're concerned about anything in here. I know Jasmine's a little concerned with how is she going to enforce, like what size coops, all that kind of stuff. So kind of what I would say, and as with Purdue Extension, my job is not to say, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. It's more to bring the facts and the research to you or to help you find that information that you have. So I haven't read 100% over your proposed ordinance as I just received it, but making sure within your ordinance, and I have read a lot of the other ordinances that other surrounding cities, towns, counties do have. So I know this is kind of a hot topic with a lot of groups of, oh, they're just chickens, let's bring them in kind of thing, but they are chickens. So for poultry, however you want to address them as. So as you know, they do fly, they do move around. So one of your main things is making sure they cannot roam. And when it comes to their housing, they're just going to be, and when you're looking at adopting ordinances, especially like these for towns, yes, we're looking at a livestock type of an animal. But when you're looking at it for in town, you're not looking on the large scale, you're looking for your backyard producer. So we kind of at this point are wanting to address these more as pets per se, because by any means, they are not going to be, even if they're looking at them for egg production, they're not going to be using them on a large scale livestock like as on a farm. So when you're looking at your ordinance of getting into the weeds, you just need to make sure areas that could be addressed, like noise ordinance. Do you need to have a specific thing about noise with chickens? As long as you're eliminating roosters or realizing your roosters are the ones that are making the most of the noise, Hens do make noise, but it's usually when they're startled or for that 5 minutes that they're laying an egg. That's when they're making noise. Okay, but for the most part, just kind of scratching around about their own business. But I'm sure you have a city noise ordinance. So that would take care of any unruly noise if there is excessive. So they're gonna be just like a dog. You would expect people to provide an adequate warm place for them in the winter, an adequate cool place for them in the summer. You know, so that's kind of what we're looking at. So, you know, definitely we need to look at space requirements. The bare minimum is 1 foot, 1 square foot per bird. Usually recommend 2 to 3 square feet per animal, so, or per bird. So I would not go anything smaller than 1 square foot. I know here in one area, you did state something about 1 foot. And I think that's within the coop, which if you're providing perches and stuff, they can pack in a little bit more, but definitely on the outside space, 2 square foot per bird is your area that you need. Dealing with manure, chicken manure, and I've even got the facts and us extension folks, we like to calculate things down to the science, but when you look at manure that chickens are going to accumulate is they will make 115% of their total dry feed intake for the day. Okay, your average chicken is going to consume about 1/4 pound of feed a day. So that's going to have them take about 1/3 pound of wet manure. 75% of their manure is wet. When it dries out, you're looking at less than 1/10 of dry manure per bird per day. So if you have, say, 6 chickens in your backyard, you're looking at 1/2 pound of dry manure a day. So I know that's a lot of people's concern when you're talking about, you're moving chickens in beside me, oh my gosh, the amount of manure. So that's what you're looking at there of, a lot of places, and I'm sure you have trash disposal here in the city, you know, whether you're expecting them to compost it or whether your trash disposal allows for that to go in your trash disposal. So that would be, but manure is not gonna be like at your cattle farm or your hog farm, you're gonna have a huge pile complete. So composting is the best thing. It actually makes the best fertilizer for if you compost it down. So put on your flowers or your garden. So it's a great access there. So when it comes to disease management, I know we're all scared right now of avian flu. The only way really we can get avian flu is if you are consuming foul manure or you're eating poultry that is not cooked properly. So that we don't have to worry about moving in 6, 10 chickens in my backyard and now the whole block's got avian flu. You know, it's no different than if you're playing with your neighbor's dog, you need to wash your hands before you go in and do anything else. So that's the kind of education that we just need to educate the general public about. I would say, again, in your ordinance, just kind of make sure you're looking at your setbacks of, you know, are you gonna put your chicken coop right up on the property line that is right up against my bedroom window, that kind of thing, you know. But for the most part, again, let this ordinance be filled by other ordinances. And are you having a limit on the birds that they can contain? I didn't, or have in their backyard. I didn't see that in this ordinance, but I don't know if this is the most up to date.
It doesn't specifically say number of chickens, because it depends on the size of your lot, so.
Okay,
You can't have it larger than 75% of the largest structure, and then you also have to have 2 square foot outside, 1 square foot inside. So
okay,
the sizes would be limiting on it.
okay, all right, so that, as long as you've got that, because they do populate like rabbits at times, so.
Don't they need a rooster for that?
They do, but Rural King is right down the road and that's where the most of your population is gonna come from. So,
Tickets
Yeah.
and calls on, there's already a couple of roosters in the city, so those people are already
yeah,
concerned, but that's.
Yeah.
That's to be expected, right?
Yeah. and when it comes to health, I know Jasmine said she was a little concerned about how do I tell a sick rooster from a healthy rooster or chicken from one or the other? And I'm like, it's just like looking at a dog. You know, I mean, the only thing you can't get in the weeds about is they do molt. They, you know, they go a couple times a year where they are gonna lose some feathers. So you can't walk up and just assume because this one is missing half of its feathers on its back that there's something wrong with that chicken. You know, that could be its natural cycle that it needs to go through. So, by looking at its eyes, is it clean? I know we say they're kind of dirty birds, but if you keep them, they will keep themselves clean. If you provide an area for them to keep themselves clean in. So, we don't have to worry about, yes, they can get lice, they can get things like that, but the kind of lice that they get, we do not get. Most of your animal lice does not transfer to humans, so you don't have to worry about things like that. They are an animal that will draw predators. So, you'll probably see some more coons or skunks or that kind of stuff, just trying to see, hey, can I get in here? But they're gonna be around looking for cat food, dog food anyway, so, that's kind of where you're at, so. Any questions you might have for me? Jasmine, anything else you would like me to address, or?
Have you had a chance to talk to Jill Hammond? She's the Camden Town Marshal, and I know Camden a year ago was going over some different things that they had with their chicken ordinance. So she might be able to provide you with some guidance on what she's seen in Camden. It's a much smaller scale, but
Yeah.
still, apparently there were birds and roosters.
Burlington also has chicken ordinance as well.
And I did bring Frankfurt's with me. I wasn't as aware you were far along as you are, so I do have theirs if you would like it. I think it kind of technically starts on the second page there, but theirs is very, very, like I said, they let other ordinances kind of handle any issues they might have, so. But we, as Purdue Extension, are here for a resource, so always willing to educate. If you have a lot of people that come forward and think, hey, this is a great thing, and you need us to have a backyard chicken symposium or class, we'll be more than glad to offer that. We actually have some available, so.
We got quite the education from one of our planning members that put out a presentation that was very thorough. I learned quite a bit just on that. So,
Yeah.
And I dealt with it at my previous job at Area Plant of the tracking down the roosters
Yeah,
at 4 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, that's,
Because you gotta wait for them, right? I mean, they said from 4 to 4:30 and that's where you go park and listen.
yep, yeah, that's definitely probably your biggest thing. If you've knocked out your roosters, that's gonna eliminate a lot of your issues. So,
Doesn't seem like we have anything written in here about like the cleanliness. I mean, it does state in here about keeping the area clean. That's in there, but there's nothing in the ordinance specific to providing, there's stuff about providing clean water and food,
And it does
but
have-
there's nothing for them to be able to bathe themselves, like you said, keep themselves clean.
they pretty much bathe themselves. They will dust
Okay, I
bath.
just didn't know.
Yes,
Gotcha.
yeah, you don't have to do that
Okay.
for them. They will bathe themselves.
So I didn't mean like
and-
actually we would visit, or
Yeah.
the owner would do it. I didn't know if they needed like a separate
No.
sort of like water thing.
They like to take dust baths and
Okay.
things like that, so.
And the ordinance does provide for a dust.
Oh, it
spot,
does?
Space for a dust bath.
Yeah, perfect.
Right. Any further questions from the board for Amy Webster?
Are you willing to give your input on what's needs to be in the ordinance or not be, or?
I'm more than willing to read over it, but like I said, with being Purdue Extension, my role is more to, if you would on this one say that, where it says coop shall be at least 18 inches high and provide at least 1 square foot for floor area per chicken. If you had on there that you were gonna leave 6 inches, where I'm going to advise you on is, no, you need to up that to 1. You need to make sure you have 2 square foot of, I'm looking at more like bird health, that kind of stuff, proper, like what is, but I am more than willing to read over if this is the final, or I don't know.
This will be first reading tonight, so.
Yeah, just to make sure it meets standards of, animal health per se, so. And I can get with Miriam on that. We deal with a bunch of other stuff together, so I can read over this and let her know if I see anything else that you might address, but. So,
Yeah, as a lot of those standards you'll see, so for setbacks and things like that, that's in the full ordinance.
yes,
So you're not gonna see that in this particular
Yeah.
language, but.
yeah, and that's the best way to deal with this, is keep it clean and narrow and just reference, setback, ordinance, yada, yada, yada. for that,
I
so.
do have some forms for our code enforcement division that when she's out doing her checks or gets calls and complaints, that she'd have a quick reference sheet or.
Yeah, I could definitely, I was telling her, unfortunately, my produce light was acting a little wonky today. So, I can definitely get her some information and share with her of some different things and send her some publications to help her feel more eased in her chicken policing, so.
Yay.
Yeah.
Further questions for Amy? All right, we'll be discussing this again here shortly for the order training, but thank you very
Cameron, am I
much.
allowed to ask a question really quick?
What's that?
Am I allowed to ask a question? Are they allowed to dispose of the manure in the trash cans?
I don't know where else they would. They just gotta have it bagged. I mean, we have
But aren't
Dog
the
feed.
trash can,
in our
the trash can
containers.
contract addresses that, and I can't remember which way it
I
goes.
think it had to be bagged.
That'd be a
Okay.
I was thinking it had to be bagged.
separate bag. And then I
Okay.
don't know where else. Yeah, so dog feedings that we make them clean up and they throw it in their trash containers. So I don't know where else.
But remember, these are pets at this point, not so much livestock, so. They're not gonna make any more than, they're gonna make less than one single dog would.
And to that point, right, to that point, this, you can get, the way the ordinance is written, you can get eggs, you can't butcher them. So
Yeah.
if you need to butcher them, or if you got chickens that die or whatever, you've got to deal with that offsite. It's not something that you can incorporate to your chicken husbandry. It's a butchering process.
Yes, they used to.
Yeah, that's again, like I said, you need to always, when it deals with this, what would you do to a pet? What is allowable for a pet in the city limits, Bill, any limits? Would you allow it for these birds? So,
Yes, 4-H still have a large chicken.
oh, very much so.
Yeah, so I foresee that being probably a
Yeah.
larger part of.
Yeah. But we're actually getting ready to take orders for meat then birds, so you hurry up, everybody get on our list.
All right, thank you, Amy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good.
All right, very good. Moving on to the next item of business is gonna be a presentation by James Wells. I do not see James here, but I see Dr. Armstrong. Are you? Norman, yeah.
I was not,
Hey,
I did not prepared to do that presentation, so if James is not here, I would.
We can come back
we
to it.
Delay it till next, if he comes in later or next meeting.
Okay, fair enough. I think, two, you've deferred at least a couple times now, so, all right, very good. We'll wait to see if James Wells, the Carroll County Economic Development Director, appears this evening. If not, we'll, move that to the May meeting. All right, moving on to unfinished business. We have Julia Leahy here to represent the blight grant application for 402 Washington. Julia?
Yeah, so last month we brought to you the idea of potentially applying for a blight grant for 402. And the reason why you don't have anything to look at is because I think I already had your answer. We found out the blight grant requires a 1-to-1 public match and a 3-to-1 private match. If we were to apply for $200,000, the city would have to put in 200, and I kind of knew where you all stood, so I didn't want to pursue it and waste the time. So that's kind of where we were at. Yeah, so they changed their tune, the state did, so for the blight grants, it does require a lot of match. So maybe give you a heads up. We're still pursuing grants and we'll take it from there, but just a whole different direction, and I'll keep you in the loop, but right now, the whole blight grant is off. I promised I'd come back and tell you, and there we are.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
All right.
Julia. All right, next item of business is gonna be the proposed ordinance 2026-4. And just to backtrack a little bit, I did, on the agenda, we have the department head reports. Everybody was submitted a copy of the reports. Without objection, we can enter in the minutes if the board has received them. Not mention them, or we get that. All right. Next item, this is gonna be the proposed ordinance 2026-4. It's an ordinance to establish a cumulative capital development fund. Last month, we presented the past first reading. It's back on the docket for discussion and vote for second and third reading. First, we get a motion on the floor is for ordinance to approve. Or proposed ordinance 2026-4, ordinance to establish a cumulative capital development fund for Indiana Code 36-9-15.5. For a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve it.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second? All right, I have a motion second. I'll open the floor for discussion on proposed ordinance 2026-4, ordinance to establish a cumulative capital development. Discussion for the.
I'm still against it. My research shows that we're about $18 million in debt. I don't think this is gonna help it at all. I think it's gonna make the debt worse. And I just don't think it's a prudent thing to do at this stage.
It's gonna make the debt worse.
It probably will, yeah.
Uh,
Well, you're bringing in money through a new tax. And that's, you've got debts above that and debts below it, and it's just not a wise thing to do at this point.
So and you're correct, we do have the bond debt, which is one of the ways that this fund be used to pay them debt. Be used for infrastructure improvements. I've listed, I read off, I think, for each member, the cumulative capital development fund to be used to pay off bond debt, city improvements. There's a full list of things that you guys have been provided that this fund can be utilized for. I know that the county has it. Julie, did you research? I know we were one of the very few cities in the state that did not have it.
I know I had my revenue class. This was one of the things they brought up, is that you don't have a. Because there are very few municipalities that do not have this happen.
I know you learned of this in 2024 when we first started at a conference, and we do have a non-reverting fund that's, to I believe it's attached to a couple of the sewer bonds, but again, this is just, it's a caps out in 3 years at a max. My math is not perfect. I'm waiting for our consulting company to give me some exact math, but I came up with our total net assessed value, this being capped at a nickel per $100 of assessed value. It'd be less than $100,000 into that fund each year. But I'm waiting for Ross Hagan from Baker Tilly to get us a little bit accurate numbers, but.
So run that by me again. How much would
It's
it's gonna raise your property tax? I wasn't here last month.
It's the same thing we passed last year. Only thing is, that's different is it's a different ordinance number with the 2026 date. So it's a 3-year, start right here. The first year is not to exceed 1.67 cents, a little over a penny, 3 cents, and then 5 cents per dollar. No, 1.67, then it goes, the second year goes to 3.33, and it goes up to a nickel for each $100 of assessed value.
Yes.
Up to a nickel, and then it caps out at,
So 5 cents on
it doesn't go any higher than that
$100,
of a assessed value.
maybe $50 on 1,000.
So
500 on such value of 100,000.
Look at me for a minute.
it stops at the,
And that goes on your property tax?
it'd be your net assessed value, correct? Your assessed value, so it's, the cap would be 0.05 on each $100 of assessed value, so it's gonna be.
So that's $500.
No,
cap is $500.
Yeah, it's not really higher out.
The property appraised for, they can raise your, is that legal?
It's all state statutes.
Well,
I mean, yeah,
our property tax is supposed to cap out on your residential at 1%. That is never supposed to be higher than 1% of your appraised value.
Right. This is the same statute that, well, they didn't change the numbers or the percentages from 2025 to 2026 remain the same.
Correct.
Yeah, the 36-9-15.56 is the statute that on the state's website defined it on. I don't think it's changed for some time. It's been the same rate over a 3-year period that's capped out for quite a while, so.
Is it required of us, if we pass this ordinance, then, I mean, obviously, we have this, it's set up for 26, 27, right, 27, 28, and 29. Is it necessary, like, what were to happen if we get into 28 and we're like, do we really need to increase? You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's,
Right.
yeah, it's enabling legislation. This just allows you to do it. It doesn't require you to do
It's
it.
I figured that one is on that cap out will be $50 on 100,000. It's not, bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you seem like that was.
That's why the total net assessed value.
Property's right.
The total net assessed value.
Give me a hard.
With the cap of 5 cents is less than $100,000.
Finally got the calculator out.
Yeah, and
You thought maybe stroke out.
yeah,
Like, that's not right.
and you know, like, we have bonds, we've had bonds that's been in place since 2008. 2013, we had a $15 million south end, water infrastructure. So again, the difference is bonds are debt, and debt's not something that any community likes or any person likes, right? But infrastructure debt is what we have. We have, improvements that we need for our wastewater plant. We have improvements to keep our water infrastructure up to date. So when stuff shows it's, I guess, age, and every year infrastructure increases.
Well, but you're saying it can be used to pay off debt.
Yes, you can pay off the bonds, correct. So
if it goes for some of that, that's kind of a good thing, but if it doesn't,
then it keeps you from using
you
your.
gotta cut back anyway, right?
But there's no commitment. This could do this could do that. You're not presenting us with a commitment to do that. You're just giving us possibilities. That's, to me, that's not.
That's for the council. If the council wanted to commit to taking an established first year, second year, third year and committing it to a bond or something, that's certainly the council's discretion.
But you've not
Because-
recommended any of that.
I don't have to recommend it. It's something that's state statute that you can use. That's why I printed off all this. Yeah, you can use it for, I would recommend that we pay off a couple of the smaller bonds. Cause we have several of them that's long-term bonds, but there's some of that's paid down and get rid of those, get the debt ratio. But that's a discretion of, the council, and it's one that we're gonna have future debt as well. We still gotta continue to improve our infrastructure. Sorry, Graham, I mean, cut you off, but I mean, it's one of those to where you guys could choose. It's not gonna be a huge fund unless we let it build up. So it's not gonna be a big chunk of money to pay towards our bonds, but we just paid $500,000 on Board of Works for a 2008 bond. Right? So that 18, so those funds could be utilized for that, right? So
I got a question. Does the bonds, do you pay interest mostly first, like a mortgage, or does it?
They're amortized. Like a mortgage is, yeah.
So
it's
even,
amortized.
so if you just put a little on the bond, it makes a bigger difference up front.
it's like paying a double house payment.
But you don't have discretion over how, it's just like a mortgage, you have to pay a certain amount.
Yeah, but you pay that amount and then you add the extra that you're adding, you can get
Oh, I
that
see.
deducted from
Yeah,
the principal.
yes.
And so like on a house, let's just say $100,000 and your payment was say $1,000 or something.
Yes, you can retire bonds.
So when you pay the interest when you first start, it might only lower that, thousands too much, but it might only lower that to say $200. So actually, when you pay 200 on it, it's equivalent to paying a whole nother payment. That
Which you're
number's
not
right,
gonna-
but I'm trying, so if you pay your bond money and you have some of that and pay a little bit, it could equivalent be making an extra payment each time up front. So
Which in turn saves all the interest out of it.
exactly.
So but we've not been doing that.
Correct.
And,
Yeah, well, we
And
have.
that's kind of what we're, you know, that's what the
and
purpose of this is, an opportunity to, again.
but out of the 18 million that we owe, at least, we've not been paying on those funds like anything like what you're talking. Plus, it sounds good to say it's all infrastructure and this, that, and the other, but we also have a $2 million loan on the, where we mortgaged the city building, and we still owe like 177,000 on the police car loan.
Yeah.
So it's not all infrastructure. It's
That's listed in the
wrong debt.
It's city infrastructure, it's fire trucks, police cars, communication services.
Fire trucks are all paid.
All that, you know, all that stuff, so.
Paid, their buildings all paid, they're pretty square.
Yeah, they are.
So wait a minute.
Correct.
Still holding the lien on this building?
Yeah,
Because they were supposed to not do, I mean, after
It
it
switched over to the street part of the line.
was to switch over. They were to pay that original thing off.
It moved,
It's a bridge loan.
forward with the original loan that was started.
Right.
We retroactively placed the things in place because those things were done. It would have cost, what did we say, $35,000 to redo a loan rather than stick with what we had, pay with what we had and make it a legal loan.
I mean,
So-
we inherited that anyway.
Yes, we inherited that.
We
It
didn't
wasn't
do-
something so we did what we needed to do to be able to like keep that loan, make it legal, retroactive, place things and have everything pre-approved and state board of account. So
4650 account. that we-
unfortunately, that was, like you said, something we inherited. We had to deal with it. So rather than expend another $35,000 to $50,000
Yeah.
to potentially look into another bond or another form of like paying for that, we stuck with what was there.
Which if you're looking for a recommendation, that would be one of my first ones to knock off the.
all I know is when you read the,
Mark.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All I know is when you read the fine print, there's not much the city of Delphi has that's not mortgaged at this point. And yes, it was inherited, but it's what we've got to deal with now.
That's exactly
And, you know, if we default on that loan for one reason or another, I mean, our equipment, our money we take in, this building, everything else is, you know, could be gone. So I think it's prudent that we need to pay these down and get these taken care of, get in better financial shape.
So that's where the payment of this thing passes.
Towards that accomplishment, right? We can be applied.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
That's
one of the options of
What-
the fund is to take those funds, yes.
That it could be applied to anything that will hold up. My
Right.
understanding, right?
Yeah, I mean, anything that's legal under state statute.
Sidewalks, fire trucks, road bonds.
But why can't we trim, our expenditures? Why can't we get that budget taken care of to where we don't have to do that?
We trimmed it
Why
down.
can't we commit to that?
Well, they did trim it down.
They did trim it.
They went line by line.
You trimmed the overall budget, the total down $600,000. You raised the, general fund budget up 3.5% or more. So when you get right, that's for the infrastructure and everything like that. So when you get right down to brass tacks, it's, you didn't do much. You did a little on the overall budget, but not as much as maybe you, realize.
Well, I understand what you're saying.
We trimmed,
I'm not being critical. I'm
we
just saying.
trimmed the community crossings grant from 500,000 to 250,000. To make a smaller project per se, but at the end of the day, we got 2 or 3 projects right now that's, I don't know, they're not gonna last much longer. There's gonna be to a point where we have to, and you have to do, you know, it's a whole street. So of course, water and sewer is gonna be separated from that. They're gonna have their own expenses that community crossings is not gonna pay on that part, but the two projects that's gonna be coming up. Whenever, our GIS shows that it's time, they're gonna be $2-3 million projects, and hopefully we get a community crossings grant that offsets it, but it's an unknown, right? So we don't know.
I just think that there needs to be some trimming done. We don't need a code enforcement officer. We didn't need to buy police cars like we did. And, you know, maybe some of that equipment needs to be gone.
Yes, the police cars, what would you suggest that they
I don't know what the inventory is, but if we've got extra stuff, we need to sell it and get rid of it and trim this budget.
We don't we have one additional car that's for a backup. But, you know, that was something that was, they go through the rotation that was done in 23. So you gotta have vehicles for your departments, and
You didn't have to have take-home cars. I think
That was your.
Yeah, yeah,
that was
opinion on
done
it.
before we got to this.
Your opinion on it.
But we spent so much money and had to take out a loan to do it. That's what we're talking about.
Everybody didn't say. The recommendation at the time was, and it was actually done before we got here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I asked about it, and it was a 7-year rotation. So we're going on 2 years into it, so there is no rotation for 5 years. Well, one of the selling points to do it there, and it was 10,000 less price for 3 of them per unit of if we did them all at the same time. Doing 3 and added.
We were saving money over the course of the.
It was saving a lot, like $100,000.
It was close to the equivalent of the cost of the car.
one complete car, basically.
Moving after it.
Complete car, dressed out. In addition to it, we did it.
Well, part of that too is we got full staff now because you're supposed to have so many police officers per.
Yeah, correct.
1,000 or whatever.
And at that time, all 3 automakers were gonna make electric vehicles, you aren't gonna be able to buy a gas diesel. That was something that was too.
I think
And that changed.
the Interceptor one of you can go have a custom made, which is gonna be a lot more expensive, but Interceptors essentially what almost every department has, correct? I mean, other than the Durango. So it was an opportunity, I think, if I reflect correct, that there was a city up north that didn't utilize what they were gonna buy, and so
That would have been a good thing to point out back, 3 years ago? When they started that, the citizens would have came up there and told the mayor at that time that was here, don't do it, don't add the police, don't add the cars, but they did it. So now you gotta try to figure out.
even with what we have now, the call load is there every day.
Surplus that we had.
We had an old code enforcement car, we got rid of it, we sold a couple dump trucks, our first year here, we sold,
Getting rid of surplus.
I think that was the first time we had a surplus, sell in
What is that?
10 or 15 years.
17,000 or something.
What's that?
What is that about you roll common cars? Police cars.
I think that it still owes 155,000.
And again, it's another
One of the
fund,
cars.
that we use to pay these all.
So back to the.
Company car.
You're right.
It's gonna help.
Because at the time when we purchased the car, now, electric, I'm just telling you what we know.
At the time, a bear was intense to electric at the time. That's changed now, they were not going to tell them, but now they are. At the time, they were not going to. Anything but the legislative podcast. The next 2 or 3 years.
That'd be interesting. That parking changed, they got parking lots full of them, that's just sitting and, can't get parts for them or chips or whatever. The electric car, that's a market that a lot of unknowns with that, so. All right, back to the proposed ordinance 2026-4. We were speaking of police cars, parked cars, and it's another item that this fund could be used for to pay off the current loan status for the current fleet. So just, you guys have listed some things I provided that can be used for, which is all in state statutes. Any further discussion from the board or the call for a second reading? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving proposed ordinance number 2026-4. It's an ordinance to establish a cumulative capital development fund under Indiana Code 36-9-15.5 on second reading, signify by stating signify by stating aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Julie, from the minutes. Is there a motion to approve proposed ordinance 2026-4, an ordinance to establish a cumulative capital development fund under Indiana Code 36-9-15.5 on third and final reading? Second. Kingery and Jenny seconded. All right, once again, open the floor for discussion. I have a motion, a second. Any further discussion on proposed ordinance 2026-4?
Yes. So if this passes, looks like it's going to, do they, should it be put in there now that it's used to help pay debt down, or do we have to wait and do it after this?
I would say that would be something after it's passed and funds started coming in that you have budget time, or I guess any time, come up with if you want to come up with a resolution on how you want to use it, because there's several options, but that can be incorporated into after the fact, something essentially.
Well, it could be incorporated in before the fact, just to say that it's gonna be, some of it's gonna be used. Now, we don't know how much, we don't know where, but we're paying the debt down.
Right, because I don't know until we start getting our money into that fund, that you guys would want to make that decision until you knew what we were getting into the fund. So if you made a resolution that you're gonna pay something.
Certain percentage or something,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, I mean, I don't see,
Just saying that it's gonna be used. We don't know how much, but
Yeah.
something.
I don't know that this would be the,
You can do that if you want, I guess it
little
would
bit
seem more
premature.
prudent to do that when you're looking at your budget cycle for next year, because you have a lot more information to determine what your income's going to be, what your.
Well, the concern, and I think that's probably Dale's concern too, is we pass it, but then we don't use it to pay on the new debt. Or this way, if you pass it saying that some of it's gonna be used, it could be $1, I don't know, but you're saying that you will use some of it to pay on the debt.
Well, if we have a contingency in there that
But yes, if we would like a resolution that provides that, this sort of guardrails.
Yeah.
We can do that for next time. Ready for you to look at. Do you have any recommended? Guardrail?
Pay structure, I guess.
Structure.
Just have to have a percentage and you use it wherever you bond. Like you said, the debt, that whatever debt you decide to use it on, you use it for.
You could do with first X. Goes toward that service. So first X and all those, because like you said, you don't necessarily.
I just want to see if we pass it, that some of it goes on the debt and just make that solid before we pass it. Because otherwise you pass it, things happen, things change, and go on the debt. And one thing that has to happen is we do have to cut back on our debt. That's why we can.
Yep,
And the
I
best
agree.
way to do it is pay it on the principal right from the beginning. And you're paying way more with just a little bit of money.
And Julie, you can get an idea for what that's going to look like, can't you? I mean, not today, but yes.
And I actually have a DLGF budgeting, like, thing,
Cool.
they're starting like some new stuff at DLGF. And so I've already signed up for that webinar that's gonna be happening in a couple of weeks, and they are suggesting that we all go to an in-person one, so it's like a 2-hour thing, plus an individual webinar. So there'll be a lot more training and the ability to ask those questions concerning that.
So I could frame something for you to look at, but I wouldn't know what to put, when you would need to decide what to put in it, you might need more information that Julie can provide you, so what that looks like.
And I can get Baker Tilly, what's their back, you know, obviously it's gonna be a different amount with the 3-year structure. You know, it's gonna be the,
I would think it would just be a
yeah,
percentage.
so we'd have to take that on.
I was gonna say, make it at least a minimum of 50%. So that way, if we wanted to pay more, we could, but there's a solid line of at least half.
Make it 25 and change it.
I mean, what do you guys think of?
Well,
I was thinking at
that's
least
how
half.
we're
We're talking about
resolution,
passing this
correct.
resolution and saying that a certain percentage will go towards. paying off
So
bonds.
whatever consensus you guys come up tonight, she can start a resolution to, I can
You
present.
could pay more than that, just not less than that, so.
Make it 25%, we can pay more.
25 towards.
That,
What do you think, Bill?
Whatever it takes to pay the debt down.
Well, that's,
I mean, I have no idea what it's gonna what it's gonna take in or anything like that. I mean,
well, we gotta make a decision.
Yeah, I'm gonna get Baker Tilly to do an analysis on the net assessed value. They have not responded back to my email, so.
my understanding is that's a resolution after tonight.
Correct. That's what, yeah, so we're just trying to get a consensus.
Yeah, but we can put it in this, right?
this is the
Or
ordinance.
tonight.
This is just the ordinance.
No.
The resolution will be what goes into what you establish as the payment structure of 50% on 50% infrastructure. So Miriam's gonna work on that after.
And I was just looking for some guidance, kind of what
Right.
you had in mind, so that I could get some kind of.
So,
Yeah, I'll start with some language, and then you can decide if that's what you want, or if you want to change, you can amend a resolution, then I pass a resolution with X and then, so you can look at a document, if you decide that you wanted to raise or lower the amount that you're committing to debt service, you can do that.
I'll rescind my motion to approve on the third reading.
Right.
And Lou, I'll make another motion that we approve on the third reading pending a resolution being passed for debt services approved by council.
I'll amend mine to second that.
all right, did you get that, Julie? It's the same motion and second, just reflected different,
Added for the
added
resolution.
additional language for the resolution to cover, how the funds would be expended.
I heard 25% and 50%.
And 10%.
Yeah, I mean, we wanna,
We're all over
we
the place.
probably, we wanna get a consensus from the board, so
So
she
let's
can,
do
so
the,
she can establish
Just a draft.
a resolution,
Yeah.
draft resolution, and then you guys will.
You can always do more, but you don't wanna get it.
I like the minimum of 25% personally. I think it's more skin in the game than 10, but not as hefty as 50.
I'll go along with 25 also.
For the debt bond.
Yes.
Minimum amount.
Yeah.
I'll use that.
Yeah, it's a minimum of, meaning
Bond,
that
bond.
if there was a, debt bond and you wanted to, you could still.
debt service.
Yes, so debt service.
You want to just generically debt service, or do you have particular, you want to have a priority debt service, or is that getting too much?
I think whichever saves us the most money.
That's something, so if you leave it as debt service, that leaves it up to the council during budget time to say, hey, we wanna pay, this is the lowest we got, so let's go ahead and just pay this one off type deal. It gives council the opportunity to go through it and pay off the debt. That way, instead of being specific of, hey, you have to pay this bond,
Right.
lets us choose which one to pay off.
And it's the minimum, so.
And it's a consensus, or it's a vote to do so.
Okay, I will leave that
Good to me.
generic.
I'm still against the tax raising. But I like the resolution because obviously it's going to pass. But I will support the resolution, but I cannot vote for a tax increase because of that.
Any further discussion from the board before I call upon a vote? Marion, get, resolution as this does pass. All right, hearing no more discussion, call for a vote. All in favor of approving the amended motion by Councilman Kingery and Myers to approve ordinance 2026-4, an ordinance to establish a cumulative capital development fund under Indiana Code 36-9-15.5 on third and final reading, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
All right, motion carried 4-1 for Treasurer Price. All right, very good. Miriam, you'll start
Yep. I
with
did.
that draft. All right, very good. Moving on to new business. We're gonna get back to the chickens. Is Amy still here?
Yep.
She is, okay. All right. Next item of business is gonna be proposed ordinance 2026-7. It's an ordinance to amend the text of the Delphi Uniform Development Ordinance to permit chicken husbandry in low-density residential districts. First of all, I'll get a motion on the floor. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Kingery and Woman Jabril, a second. All right, I'll open up the floor for discussion. To give the public a quick update on this, this has been tossed around quite a bit. It was brought to us during a planning meeting and went through the several discussions and got to a point where we officially started back at step one and agreed to introduce it to the public, which we publicized it in a comment by statute twice. It did pass the Delphi Planning Commission unanimously, so, excuse me, which is where it is today by being presented to the common council, just the update of how we got here. Any discussion from the board? About lower the cost of eggs. What's that? About lower the cost of eggs? Don't know that. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you're on your own, the main guys are gonna have to cut their price.
All right, let's call for discussion from the board. All right, hearing none, I will call a vote. All in favor of approving proposed ordinance 2026-7, an ordinance to amend the text of the Delphi Uniform Development Ordinance to permit chicken husbandry in low-density residential districts. All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on. Amy, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
All right,
James is speaking.
yes. Yeah, hang on, Dave. We're gonna finalize a couple of things here. Next item of business is gonna be proposed an ordinance. Proposed ordinance 2026-8, an ordinance amending Title 5, Chapter 75 of the scheduled load restrictions of the City of Delphi Code of Ordinances. First, we'll get a motion on the floor. Is there a motion to approve? Is Myers? Second, is there a second? All right, I have a motion and a second. I will open up the floor for discussion to give you guys a quick update of why I had this brought to your attention. Prior to the bridge closure, we've had a lot of semi-traffic coming from the industrial district on the north side of the city and continue to be, it's an everyday thing. And we get a lot of complaints. The city building gets a lot of calls. The businesses, I've had a couple of coast calls with the 18-wheel semis with the 53-foot trailer that can barely squeeze down Washington Street. Now that we have the bridge out, I don't want to say it's gotten worse, but it's one of those to where this has been mentioned before. It was never put in place. I know years ago, there used to be the county owns the canal bridge. There was a weight limit. But it's an ongoing issue of promoters, 18-wheel semis in our downtown district that's going out to the industrial park. So I reached out to Miriam on how could we, and also to NDOT, how can we get some kind of signage to keep these trucks from using this every single day while this bridge is out and just throughout the year. And she came up with the ordinance in front of you. So that's an overview of why it's been presented to you today. So open up the floor for discussion.
From first observation, we don't do something, we're gonna put in a historic bridge also. Well, we can't replace it. Canal bridge is getting rough, bad. I know they did a engineering.
He's thinking about it too, I think.
Yeah, last year we had a water leak that, that Denny got to witness, I think, from your living room.
I did.
And it just so happens that that made me a little bit nervous, just because of water that was, water's gonna go where it goes, and then on a bridge and concrete structure. That made me a bit nervous on the stability of the bridge, and even though it wasn't our bridge, I requested the council or the county highway to have some kind of inspection on it before we let traffic back on it for safety concerns, which they agreed, and thankfully it came back efficient, and there was no major damage. But at the end of the day, the bridge was there before anybody in this room. It's been there a long time. It's a historic bridge, and 18-wheelers that's leaving loaded. A lot of weight on it, right? And it's a safety thing when you get up by the courthouse as well. The roads are skinny. You got people that's crossing streets, and there's just a very limited space. So we had a couple of streets that was already on our code of ordinances for load restrictions, that being East Main Street in Hamilton. And this was, NDOT would not let us put any signage on the stoplight until this was proposed in an ordinance and passed, so.
Then we'll get it lined up. Try access.
Yeah,
Not only bridge, it's tunnels that went to the courthouse, they fill those in there.
I don't, I think those were built in during still.
Yeah.
Kind of like the city of Frankfurt,
Project thing,
Every single one of them.
that they do.
That's what it is.
They found the same tunnels at Frankfurt when they was redoing the road in front of the Frankfurt courthouse, so that must have been a common thing in
So they're
the past.
one at the hardware. It's not the hardware store, it's the Mexican restaurant downstairs. I've looked at that.
Yeah, and this, the language in this, I want to make sure that I clarify, the language in this does allow delivery trucks, right? So this isn't meant towards the little 26-foot pump truck that go to Pizza King or the restaurants. Those trucks are all still fine, just as they are for deliveries on East Main Street. So this doesn't tie itself to delivery trucks. That's why it kept the language the same. We want our restaurants and our businesses to still have the ability to have deliveries, and that was the language that was put in to make sure that still takes place, so. Now we have loaded 72,000-pound dump trucks. That's not following the detour and turning on Hamilton Street. And we've made progress, and the Stone Quarry has done a great job of working with us on dispatching it and telling all the trucking companies, but there's a few of them that straggle out, and my concern with that was during low leak season, right? We have kids down there playing, and they don't need to be on that road. It's a 5-minute detour to go 421 and back up to the Heartland, but they're cutting through our residential neighborhood. So anyway, that's the reason why I brought this. I know this board has discussed this a few times in the past, and this was essentially the only way we could really do anything with signage. So any further discussion from the board? Or is there any discussion from the board? Has everybody seen a truck at least once going down the square? All right, hearing none. Call for a vote. All in favor of approving ordinance 2026-8. Ordinance amending the Title 5, Chapter 75 of load restrictions of the Delphi Code of Ordinances on first reading, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Thank you. All right, Mr. Wells. Get bumped back up to James Wells. James is our Carroll County Economic Development Director. James, welcome.
Mayor, Council, good evening. And I about caught my breath now from running over the floor, so. All right, well.
I mean, gas is expensive, but I could have come and got you. I mean, that's quite a run.
I was more worried about the nail that was in my tire, but we got that taken care of, from Complete Auto, so. Got it taken care of, so. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to be here with you tonight. This evening, I just wanted to take a few moments, to share with you an update, on our Carroll County Economic Development Corporation, update to our update to our strategic plan and where we're gonna go with, for this year, putting that into action. And I see you have a copy, with you of our plan, so I'll get right into it. At the core of our plan is a plan built around a simple vision, a dynamic and prosperous economy for all of Carroll County. And that all piece is important because this isn't about one community over another. It's about making sure Delphi, Flora, Burlington, and Camden and our rural areas all are moving forward together. So I start by painting a picture of where we're at now. Currently, Carroll County has strong momentum right now. We've seen progress in areas like housing, broadband, childcare, and business growth, and we continue to benefit from a strong agribusiness base here, along with regional investment happening around us. Now, at the same time, we know that challenges are real. First, housing supply is tight. Workforce availability remains a concern, and access to childcare and healthcare continues to impact growth. So, and these are just a few of those challenges, but they aren't just community issues. They are economic development issues. Now, we know where we are at, so where will the EDC focus at? Our plan focuses on 4 areas. The first, supporting and growing local businesses while attracting the right new opportunities. Second, focusing on strengthening our workforce pipeline through better alignment between our schools and our employers. Number 3, investing in quality of place. We're talking housing, childcare, healthcare, and amenities. And number 4, and finally, improving collaboration across the county so we can move projects forward efficiently. Now, your role in our partnership together. This is where your role is critical. The decisions made at the local level, whether it's housing, infrastructure, or development processes, directly shape our ability to compete and grow. From our side, Carroll County EDC is here to be a partner. That means helping identify opportunities, supporting projects, connecting resources, and working alongside you to align efforts across the county. In closing, Carroll County is in a strong position, but the next phase of growth will require coordination, leadership, and continued partnership. We're committed to working alongside you to turn this plan into real results for our communities. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to be here with you and share our plan and our vision for the community. And I'll take any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you, James. Any questions or comments for James Wells? Everybody did have the.
Yeah, this is a moment, okay.
Plus,
This is one that's showing the scene.
that's the. February 2026. So, February 2026. You're saying that too? Okay. That's no big deal. That's the EDC board of directors, so that's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you were thinking of this part right here. Yeah, that the Seth Eldridge, Scott Ortman, Nita Gregg, Kenneth Walton, Julia Jay, those are all the board of directors. That just list school partners, HWC who did the report, EDC staff, Jonathan Kelly, Shannon Kelly, so I see where you.
How much does this cost the city? Not this, but make the city grow. Is that?
Yeah, so we're on our last year of our EDC contract.
You've,
Second, to last year, I believe,
Yeah.
2027.
Was it 27? I thought this was the last year. Yeah, and then it'll be expire and be up for negotiation for renewal, so. And that's one of our topics we discuss at budget time. 2027 will be there's, I think, a couple of them that's coming up due, so
Yes,
James will be a busy man.
yes.
So circle and counting, so. Any questions or comments for James?
Are you guys working with the school for the new preschool that they're put like daycare slash preschool, or is that solely the school board dealing with the grant?
Yeah, it's solely the school board, but we were in conversations in late fall going into winter about how we can help. If there was a possibility of applying some of those Ready 2.0 dollars to help with that project, but because of the dynamics and the requirements behind Ready 2.0, that just wasn't feasible. But we continue to remain as a working partner.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, and we're excited. That would add about, and I hope I'm not throwing out the wrong number, 40
Or
seats of
Yeah,
childcare
that's
access. in the
so
county.
necessary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that is definitely gonna move the county up from.
Well, and it's public,
Yes,
so even, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
It's definitely needed. This is a statewide issue and a statewide initiative, so there's hopefully further opportunities to continue advancing this because of the Packers and the schools and just childcare is a challenge everywhere.
Mhm.
So, Laura got the new facility last year that was full within a couple months. It was booked. So it just tells you how critical it is that we continue this initiative. So
and to go with the workforce piece, that's the limiting factor is, it's one thing to have the students who need to have childcare. It's another thing to have enough workforce to cover what they need. So
Mhm.
that's gonna be the challenge with the school as well, is
Yeah.
having enough people to
Right.
watch all the children.
Mhm.
which is they're implementing a program with the kids.
Mhm.
So anybody that wants to go in that career field, they can work there as a student, which is a good opportunity for them and
And be certified by the time.
be certified by the time they graduate. We went to Lewis Cass and some other schools that's done this. I went up north and I think it was New Albany, or not New Albany, but Auburn, I believe, but they started this and their facility is amazing. So they've just, a lot of schools are doing it and it's a success and it's a start for us. So thank you for all your work with that.
and that also is a critical piece too with the workforce requirements that the state has. So that's a great opportunity to hit those requirements and provide those workforce development opportunities.
Agreed. All right, thank you, James.
Thank you, council. Thank you, mayor. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
All right, next item of business is gonna be Parker Bright, Parker with Voice VSA Software. Is he still here?
Yep.
Okay. there.
I was trying to hide, I didn't.
Okay, I didn't know if he was awake.
Took a while to hear his voice.
Are
You want me to pop that up?
Yeah,
Okay.
you could.
Sure.
And then I know there's animations and stuff on the slides. Just go ahead and click through those when let the slide just fully appear.
Yeah, so I have to open that. Or I
Yeah.
have to have it open before, because it won't let me,
Oh, that I don't know how Zoom works with all that.
yeah, Zoom is an name, so you can go ahead and start and I'll work on this part.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Awesome. Well, I first just want to start by saying my name is Parker Bright, I'm account manager for Voice Systems / BSNA. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about a potential switch into our cloud platform. First and foremost, thank you for having me. I appreciate all of your time to come talk to you tonight. And then I also want to thank you for being a longtime customer, I think at least 15 years. So thank you thank you guys for that. The main things to point out with this cloud program is what you're getting in the differences in the software. So currently today, you guys use a product of ours called Keystone. And Keystone was built and coded in 1989. So I think we might be a little bit overdue for a change.
Well, wait a minute, if it worked that good that long, why are we gonna change it?
I can tell you now, the program doesn't even have commas in it. So when Julie's typing in your budget numbers, there's no comma delineated numbers in there. But there's some other things that just don't necessarily work with modern technology today. A good example is your Keystone system is running on a server. That server is physically here in that building somewhere, or in this building somewhere, and it takes an IT professional, or maybe even Julie sometimes, to load updates, maintain the software, back up the software. And just as I am talking about all of these things, these are some of the things that inherently go away with a cloud product. So I'll skip this slide. This slide is here just to talk about who BSNA is and who Voice is together. We are 100% local government focused company. We have about 3,000 clients across 23, 24 different states. And then the last thing to let you know about the type of company that BSNA is they have a 99% customer retention rate. So in 40 years, they have lost 4 financial management customers. And I do have to say, we took one of them, but they got them back anyways. Yes, so this slide here does a really good job of explaining what our products do and how they help Julie and her job. Across the top, you've got the financial management, you got human resources, which includes payroll, utility billing, and then we also do we have some other products that you don't use with us today. So throughout this presentation, there's going to be 3 different key themes that I like to hit on as doing this. You know, with a move to SaaS or cloud, it's about making your life easier, it's about saving you time, and it's about saving you some money. So as you can see here, early on, I kind of laid out, your environment today. Keystone, where it's got a server and you're attached to that. Then there's cloud, which is server-based technology that's being hosted. And then there's SaaS technology, which is what our product is, where it is built for the cloud and stayed in the cloud. It wasn't some server-based technology that we just threw in Microsoft Azure for you. And so with SaaS, there's a lot of predictability. Your previous product, you could have a server go out, you could have updates that cause issues, you're open to cybersecurity attacks because your data is here. With SaaS, you get predictability. And as you can see below, all of these things are things that are just constantly in the background that you don't really think about day to day, but they're there, whether it be causing you issues, causing you time, or even causing you money. So as I get into this, there's going to be a couple of slides here that I'm going to talk about how this is making your life easier. Right now, if Julie, for whatever reason, wasn't feeling well and wanted to work from home, or we had outages with staff, it's not a real possibility for anybody to take work home. And you could connect to a VPN, but then it's slow, and sometimes that opens up other issues. With cloud, as long as you have a device and an internet connection, you will be able to access it from anywhere. Limited data access. So there's kind of a couple different parts and pieces to this. So currently with Keystone, if you want to have more than one person looking at somebody's utility bill, you can't do it. That'll collapse the system. But there's also other things with that limited data access. There's the updates. So in Keystone, you have your financials, you have your payroll, and you have utility billing. Well, each one of those has a different update. And so it takes time out of your day to kick everybody out, load an update, make sure it's run correctly, and go through that process. The same with backups. Before Julie ever runs a bill or finalizes anything, she's got to kick everybody out of the system, load a flash drive, take the flash drive with her, load another one. That's what you're supposed to do. Not many people do it. But it's just, again, it's a whole process that is antiquated and no longer needs to be a part of anybody's day and life here. I already covered the backups. I got ahead of myself. And this is another great thing about cloud. Again, it's all about predictability. So with your current environment, like I said, you could have a server go out, you could have any sort of issue, and that is on you guys to get it fixed. Whereas when it comes to our SaaS cloud platform, we are taking care of all of those unpredictable things for you. And this is a great big long list that shows you, hey, this is what we are handling all ourselves today. And then this is what SaaS and what we will take care of for you in the future if you decide to switch. So the next couple of slides are going to be some nice feature enhancement inside the system, and some things that we have updated and feel are going to be really important to our customers. This one here is our custom dashboards. And this is really powerful / important because currently with Keystone today, you've got a list of about 1,000 reports. And those reports are exactly as we built them 30, 40 years ago. And there's no editing. It is just, we give you the report and that's what you have. With cloud, your data is your data. So we empower you to be able to create the reports you want to see, to create dashboards, to be able to visualize that data in a way that is going to be appealing and understandable for everyone. So an example of that is when Julie logs in, the first thing she's going to see is her dashboards. And let's say, she wants Cameron to have a login. Cameron's going to see his own information that he cares about when he logs into the system. It's not just going to be what Julie sees. So everybody that's got a login and access to the system will be able to see what's important to them. Now, I'll also call out with anybody that does have a login to the system, we restrict their access based on their role. So all the security in the system is set up based on what that exact person needs to be doing in the system. So just a quick call out there. This is something that is really, really cool. We are actually leveraging AI within our system to help make your day-to-day faster. An example of this is our AI invoice tool. So Julie can scan in about 20 different invoices and let AI run through, and it will read and populate the correct fields inside of the system for her. And as you can see, there's the green boxes, there's yellow, and it's not on this picture, but there's also red. Green, that means it's good to go. Give it a quick scan, make sure it's right, but we're 99% positive that's a good field. Yellow means, hey, give it a thorough glance, make sure that's the right number. And then red means, hey, please change that. But you can think about the amount of time savings that is going to happen with Julie and her staff, because sometimes it takes 2, 3, 5 minutes per invoice, especially if the system is running slow, whereas we can cut that time in half, a minute 30. And so when you have a lot of invoices coming through, this type of time saving stacks up. Awesome. So with this is a new tool that we have rolled out to our customers, and ultimately it is a great product and something that we are bringing forward to everybody, but it's a shift in mentality for support for us. So now support with the new cloud system is 24/7. If you've got a question late at night and you can't get a hold of us, this AI assistant is going to be here to help you. If you just have something that hey, I can't find this report, this is going to be much quicker than trying to reach out to us on the phones. But ultimately, this is going to shift our model and support to a much more well-rounded platform, because you're going to have help 24/7. You're still going to have the ability to call us and call in and put in your support ticket that way. But also with this, the more that this gets used, I think right now it's built on 600 plus cases, and we've got a 95% satisfaction rate. That is only going to increase, because the more documentation and the more cases it runs through, the better it's going to learn. Also with this, adding an AI assistant, we're doing monthly webinars that are going to be training. We have an app now that you can submit tickets that way, but also check out our community, read articles, all that stuff. So really, we are switching to a more well-rounded support model with this. You could skip this. I covered that. Yeah. So this, just to talk about how we move forward and what an implementation looks like with us, we follow the 90-10 rule. We're doing about 90% of the work. 10% of the time we're coming to you guys saying, hey, can you produce this report for us? Can you join this training? Can you do, a pre-go live with us? That's really about it. So most of this migration and most of the work in this implementation is going to be done by our staff. And just like to end on a quote here from a customer of ours in Michigan. Our move to BSNA Cloud was a strategic decision to position ourselves ahead of the curve. For years, we have relied on the on-prem system. It served us well, but we recognize that technology, security, and expectations have evolved. Transitioning to cloud meant breaking some long-standing habits and embracing change so we could fully leverage the new system. So that's an important quote for me to bring forward to you guys because I'll be honest, any switch like this is never super easy. But the importance of this switch is going to set you guys up to be more efficient, to be more effective, and more transparent as well with this software. So I encourage anybody that is going through something like this or evaluating different softwares to truly think about, with this new product, how much better can we get? And that is it.
Thank you, sir. About, any questions? For Parker?
Will it last another 40 years?
I would say, I don't know about 40 years, but this is definitely the product that's built to lead everybody into the foreseeable future. Absolutely. So I believe Julie's got exact numbers in front of you, but the annual cost is 41. Yeah, okay. I got the round numbers. I didn't have the exact. Yes. So your new annual fee would be 41,685, but you guys won't owe that until next year sometime. Right now, with the way our structure is set up, if you were to sign a contract with us, you would owe $1,000 at contract signing, and then you wouldn't owe us again until we get you live. And we're booking about 12 to 13, 14 months out.
So after it goes live, then what? Is it the same cost?
No, it would be the 41,685.
What are we currently paying for Keystone?
16,475 or 270, something like that.
Between,
Yeah, 16 and some change.
yes. But like you said, we also paid for extra server with the IT department, we paid for, so I think if you add all of those things together, because we already just had to replace twice, like things have gone down in the
We've
server
had
one.
to, upgrade our
So
network.
we spent, what was it, $17,000 just on the new server part portion of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
And those life cycles, if you follow a typical IT structure that they give you, you've got 4 to 7 years.
Yeah.
right.
That's 5
years old.
Yeah.
Replace other things in them that are, $2,500 here, $2,500 there, to keep that particular piece of equipment running so that we can continue with our Keystone.
Yes, and so something to call out here is typically with this type of purchase, there is an upfront cost there to migrate all your data and basically set up the system so you are not starting from scratch. Where we're at in this cycle, we are waiving that cost until June 30th. So in the proposal, it is waived down to zero. But after June 30th, it would be 56,945 one time to install the system.
On top of the 40 or,
Yes, on top
But
of.
it's being waived.
but then
If
it's
you,
gonna.
after June, it would.
Yeah, if you sign up before June 30th, you don't have to worry about that cost. Yeah,
Ever.
That's getting everything set up and
Yeah.
transfers and all that.
Waited to see it next day.
Correct.
yes. So, with the timing of where we're at, this gives you kind of the best of both worlds. You get to take advantage of the discount and you're not really gonna owe any money until next year.
And that would just be the 40s.
Then you also have training involved with this, but training is billed at the very end and it is billed for what you use. So I've got numbers here for training, but it's gonna completely depend on what Julie uses. So, I think, where did I go? Oh, yeah. That's from,
So if we move forward with this, we would need to have that list for budget time to know how much to.
And really, the only three people that ever get into is the utility clerk, the bookkeeper, and myself. Now, you get into view so that you can keep an eye on appropriations and things like that. I know you go in and you look at that stuff every single day.
But you'd be restricted, right? So you can't.
Right.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, and that's what Parker's saying, you have.
we're watching, I mean, when he logs in, we're watching.
But like, it's like Parker said, the people that need to be in there, like if Amanda needs to go in and do an accounts payable or accounts receivable, or, Kim needs to print utility bills, I can get into the report or do whatever, we have that accessibility, that he would still have the ability to be able to view.
Yeah, right now I print them. I
Right,
don't have that.
Right.
So I can print them off every Friday and
yeah.
go through.
And some other advantages that, and there's a ton of, intricacies built in the system to give you advantages, but some popular things that we talk about is with this comes an employee portal. So, with that employee portal, all your employees can log in, find their pay stubs, find their W-2s. If you've got people that have certifications and CDL or whatever, they can keep that information in there. So it's also a great place to keep your employees organized and not have somebody running the, hey, I need this, or I need a W-2, or I need a pay stub. It's all organized in one area for you. I don't know currently how you do your work orders today, when it comes to any of the utility stuff with meters. But ironically, I was down south doing a demo for somebody, and we were covering the utility portion. And I kept noticing that their utility workers would walk in every hour. I'm like, hey, what, we're talking about this. What are those guys doing? And they're like, oh, well, they're filling out a work order, then they go do it, and then they come it back. I'm like, think that wastes a lot of gas? Absolutely. Well, with cloud, they can access that work order from their iPad, laptop, or whatever, get it done and move on to the next one. They don't have to keep coming back and forth. And so with the ability to have information in this product at your fingertips, it, like I said, it truly does make you think about how we operate today.
There's no additional cost for each user, right?
Nope, it's a site license, so you can throw the farm at it if you want to.
About billing, people like set billing up in it and then just email some people bills or.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you could offer an incentive to, instead of have to mail a bill every month.
That was a separate
Well,
tier.
we have
wasn't it?
that
Wasn't
now,
that
people
the
can sign up for
6,000?
online billing, they choose to do so of their own whatever. But, I mean, we currently, and this is just a little example, like today, we had at least half a dozen phone calls with people who were like getting an email, hey, you owe this bill because of something that like Invoice Cloud was doing. Not anything we did on our end, but every now and then it gets this little glitch thing and it sends somebody an email. And they're like, I haven't lived there for a long time. I don't know why it sent me a bill. So.
Well, that could be good if they paid it.
And the other important piece to this, yes, is the payment portal. The payment portal we are offering you is better than what you currently have, and it's live. So a good example, if somebody comes on and makes a payment today, they can make that payment and call Julie, and Julie's gonna go, I have to wait till tomorrow and let you know if it comes through. In our system, she will already see that payment's been made. And not only that, our payment processing is hitting the bank and making sure that the funds are there for that payment to go through, because if not, we will stop that transaction. And that saves you on NSFs and,
Yes, we
Yeah.
currently have rejection stuff, and then we have to go through a whole process of saying your payment was rejected, you have this many days, we have to mail out a letter, we have to reverse things, and this, it's just, there's a whole process to it.
That's a plus.
Yeah, it is a plus. It's kind of like a positive pay with our bank that we have now. It keeps bad checks from going through. It's a positive pay on that end.
yes, that is our merchant,
Right.
you know, hitting the rails and making sure that everything is as it should be. And that's, the other thing is the portal is much more customer friendly. There's the area to see all your bills, you know, current and, you know, past. It gives you a usage chart, a 12-month trailing usage chart, so that, you know, they can see, oh, in July, I always owe the most for my water. I wonder why that is. But yeah, it is just gonna be much more customer friendly.
Right now, I think what we have, it just gives you a chart that is like colored.
Yeah,
And then our bills have your usage reading on those. But it doesn't give you
the full picture.
the full picture, like.
A chart with the rest of your.
Because that's
different
a
payments.
totally another thing with our sense of analytics, so that would combine before. It would just make it flow.
One of the first things I spoke with Julie about with 24 was how do we, I know we can pay online with our utilities, but it's considered user friendly, but to me it wasn't. Because you're gonna have that exact capital. It's gotta be exact, and that was a tax burden for some people, so I researched some different municipalities that had different, you know, options. In today's world, everybody wants to pay from home, right? They wanna get on one of these or their computer and pay from home. They don't wanna drive the city building and that's not the case for everyone. I thought it's just a generational thing, but we need to reflect on how we make it easier for people to pay their bills.
Is there a payment fee if you pay online?
Yes, and it just it depends, cause it's all based on your volume, and so I could give you list price, but you guys aren't gonna be charged list price, so I have yet to work with Julie to get those statements to tell you exactly what the payment fee would be, but.
Alright, so Julie, with this, I know you wanted a presentation. What actions do you want from the board?
I mean, I would kind of like to know what your thoughts on it, because to me, and Parker and I have talked about this, and I feel like, and we've talked about how Keystone and how you said, you know, the age of it.
Yep.
It eventually is gonna be phased out.
It will be end of life at some point.
Right, and so my thought process is how long is that gonna take? We don't know how long it's gonna be. It could be 2 years, it could be 5 years. I mean, my thought process is I don't want us to be caught where we're stuck and then we're forced to have to do it because we have no other choice, and then have to pay in excess, because you know the price is gonna keep rising over the years, because that's what happens. Your technology, your everything rises. With giving that a $56,000 to a zero for the integration part of it, $56,000 is not a drop in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? I understand that the annual fee is a $41,685, but if we add everything up from our IT for our server, in addition to our software, we pay for our software, I feel like it's very comparable. We can save ourselves the extra for the integration. That's just something I wanted you to consider.
Is that gonna be all paid from just the general, or is it gonna be split between general and then whatever water pays in there?
And that's what we currently do now, is we split those things.
Have you looked at anybody else just to compare?
I actually have, and it's very comparable to other companies, and I know Parker doesn't want to hear this, close your ears, Parker. Like, I've talked to Fry and I have Tyler Technologies beating down my doors, and they are very comparable. Theirs run anywhere from the 38 mark to the 60,000 mark yearly. So they are right there in that ballpark, and we have them. We already have them. I hate to switch to anyone else. You know what I'm saying? We've been good customers since 2012, so why switch to anyone else? Across the board, they are in that same ballpark, and some of them are even more expensive.
I do wanna also say it's like, it may be cheaper on one side of the technology, but It's not a cloud product. And so in the next 3, 4, 5 years, they will be coming to you and saying, you gotta make a switch.
Right.
Waiting for all the data centers to be built.
Right.
So,
Well, it is, I agree with you. I think it is inevitable. It's no different than apps on your phone. There comes points in time, like if you have an iPhone 11 right now, like your apps aren't gonna properly work on your iPhone 11 anymore. So
That's a problem side.
you don't want to get into a position, like you said, where suddenly it's like, okay, now and then we're
We're back against the
scrambling.
wall.
Yeah,
Or do it or else.
and we can't stop technology. It's a freight train going really fast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so.
Does your servers have a backup? Like if you lost power?
So two different points on that. Our servers take backups every 15 minutes. But we capture daily backups, weekly backups, and monthly backups. If you should ever need a backup for whatever reason, I would say 95% of the time, our support group can help you fix the issue before you ever have to load a backup. But outside of that, we have 2 different data centers in the United States. We've got one in Arizona and one in Virginia. And if there was a natural disaster of some sort to happen to one of those sites, we'd have you back in live in less than an hour. And this is hosted by Microsoft Azure. So we have to follow all the same compliance and rules that Microsoft does. There's a lot.
so I guess my question to you, Miriam, is this something that, you feel the board should vote on, or, I mean, from your standpoint?
Yes, we
Should
should
move
vote on
forward.
a contract.
Okay.
I don't know if
So-
we need to vote on it tonight, but we
Right.
were voting on a contract.
So for your timeline of June 1st.
Yep, or June 30th, but yes.
June 30th, so that gives April, May, you have 2 months to knock that out, so. Yeah.
And
Obviously.
the information that Parker sent to me, I can send to every person, I can send it to the council so that you can look over the proposal that he has, so you can see it in writing.
Could you send me the things like in the contract?
Yeah, I have to request the contract, so it may take me a day or two, but once I get that, I'll make sure she sends it over to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I think this is a good idea. I support it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Dale, I've been on the fence about it, cause I'm like, what do we do? What do we do? You know what I mean? And after a lot of really in-depth conversation, I mean, I've even literally like been emotional over it, and the girls in the office are like, you have to either step forward or get left behind, and they're like, you just have
Tossed
to.
it around for 2.5 years
have,
now.
and it has really been weighing heavy on me, and I'm just like, I hated to, but I finally, after talking to a lot of other group treasurers at this Institute Academy, and Parker was there. One of the other ladies is like, she goes, Julie, she goes, I'm telling you, she goes, it's the best thing that your city can do. And she said, it facilitates things, and she said, you just keep up with the times. And she said, you really need to have Parker come and talk to your council about it. So she is very happy with it, and she is like, if you ever need anything. So I'm glad that you're supportive of it, because I think it's gonna be a plus for us. And maybe it could cut down on like our IT expenses as well. So if they're doing it, that's a place where we could cut some of the IT expenses.
It'd be easier for you and for the
Right.
citizens at home trying to pay the utility.
But I know like people who pay online, and I don't know if anybody here in this room has paid online, but when we tell people you pay online with the Invoice Cloud right now, you can't put any spaces in, we have to tell them, you can't put any spaces in your account number, you only have to type the street name in, you have to, and it's just
all over
a
the
hot
place.
mess, it is all over the
It was
place. We have
probably
people who have
Good
struggled.
back then, it was probably a new option, but today's world, it's,
Right. And people automatically, when they type in pay my bill online, it goes to Doxo, and then that's a whole
Yeah,
hot
yeah,
mess. It's, at least if this is there and it's user friendly and it makes things more compatible for our citizens, I think that's a huge plus.
Yeah, and just so everybody's aware, we've probably got 25 to 30 live in the state. And then another 70 to 80 that will be getting installed over this year and next. So it doesn't honestly take us that long to do an install. but we have built out so much of a backlog that we are scheduling a year in advance.
And you have two questions.
Yes,
Does it say in your contract who owns the data?
you do.
Okay, and then what's the offboarding? So if they decide in the year that they don't,
We have to give everything, well, like, are you talking about of the data or?
well, yeah, of the data.
Contract.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, so it's an evergreen contract. You've got 30 days before your renewal window every year. And the reason we do that is because if you have to go and get approval in these meetings and then, for whatever reason, quorum's not met or somebody, cancels the vote, then, we can't get you a license key until it's been passed. But so let's say you do cancel the contract, we owe you all of your data and it is our responsibility to get it in a format that is acceptable to you.
That's
Yeah.
it, okay.
Yes, yes.
Is there you say it's a yearly contract?
Mhm.
Okay. I didn't
So
know.
we've purchased we paid our contract for this year has been approved in this order of works. So say if we went, because I think we were talking partner, and correct me if I'm wrong. But my understanding was if we did this like in 3 months and I know you say you're out here, but if we were to happen to do this in 3 months, they would take that amount off of what you
Yes,
owe.
Yeah.
What we've already paid.
yes, yeah, so we
Yes.
will prorate
They
what
would
you're
prorate.
currently paying us and put that, when we get there, put that towards your purchase of voice cloud.
So it's not an on top thing, it's a prorated. One of the first questions I asked. So, anyway, I mean, it's up to you whether you want to move forward with it or you wanna hang on to it. If you want to see the proposal and hang on to it till next month, I mean,
I mean,
however you wanna do
what's
it.
the consensus?
I think if it's gonna benefit your office and this is something that is needed, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable.
I think there's also, you just talked about the things, but there's other things it can do that will probably be more efficient also.
Parker, correct me if I'm wrong, assets. We have an asset module now that we've had since 2012. No one has ever dug into it and used it. Like I have, and Cameron knows this, I've expended an obscene amount of time trying to get the asset thing and understand and get those things in there. But it's a huge process. Doesn't the asset module do the depreciation and calculate it?
Yes, it does, and what we will do, because you guys are a different, it's up to you. What I would recommend is we will take from your Baker Tilly asset
Right.
sheet and take that data and install that into the system instead of taking what's out of Keystone.
Right, and that's another thing that we could cut out is because I had to have Baker Tilly do the assets individually, which was time consuming because they were like a hot mess. It costs us, to pay Baker Tilly to do those assets and get those where they needed to be. That's another thing that we can cut if we don't have to have them do it anymore. If we have it here, it automatically does depreciation for us. Huge benefit.
I think there'll be even more, but as you go along.
Right. So. If you wanna wait till next month, that's up to you, I can give you that, or if you wanna general consensus decide tonight, or if you wanna vote, I've been
Can you
leaving the
send
ball in
us the
your court.
proposal?
I'm sorry,
Can you send us the proposal
certainly
so we
can.
can look at it
I
for
certainly
next
can.
month?
Yeah, when we go downstairs, I'll send it to you tonight after we leave the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
If you guys have any questions, Julie has my number, knows where to find me.
Thank you, Parker.
Thank you guys, I appreciate your time.
Very good. So Julie's gonna get you guys the information requested and then, so for next month, then you guys will bring this back up, put it back on the agenda and then pipeline between next month and getting that contract approved so you'll probably have some kind of template then.
Yeah, I'm assuming he'll send me a contract and I'll spend this month looking at it, and if I've got any questions or concerns, you can put me directly in touch with Gabe.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll just give you Parker's email.
Okay. I'll just work with him directly. I'm assuming since they've done this thousands of times, I won't, but I ought to just take a look at it just to be sure.
Yeah. All right, very good. That is all of our business matters for this evening. We're on to board comments.
I'd like to thank Aaron, not you.
Oh.
All right.
What I do.
I'd like to thank Aaron Lyons. He responded to a citizen's complaint that I forwarded to him and had a pothole filled the next day. I thought that was pretty impressive and I'd like to recognize him for that. Is Steve in the room or no? Okay. Never mind.
Additional board comments?
Nope.
All right, Treasurer Price? Public comments?
I'm sorry. I knew they went, let me get out.
Buddy Lord.
You knew I'm gonna come here.
Is it block cameras?
No, not today.
Oh.
But you know, I'm gonna come back, my aunt's gonna come back and ask you all questions about clock cameras in the future. Okay. I got a whole thing here, Lauren Murphy, MURFREE. I'm a resident of Deer Creek. Township? So, the township. I wanted to state my support for the capital improvement, it's called tax ordinance. Sorry, some of the capital development fund. I did want to reiterate that this, when I was looking at the code, is used for like for infrastructure, watershed, states, parks, maintaining waterways. I did have a question, how much is the city losing from SB1? Because of SB1 passing last year.
They don't have exact numbers yet. Baker Tilly still tops around numbers for everyone.
I think at one time, didn't they initially say it was over a million?
They did, but that's changed as well.
Changed.
So
I mean, it
they're
changed.
trying to nail down something for every municipality and that's a lot. So,
That's what I thought.
and of course, next year's a budget season at the state house, so whatever. They didn't make a lot of changes was, so obviously I seen you down there every day. But, they're trying to get everybody numbers, but they're all over the place, so.
Yeah.
They don't know because they haven't got the
Of
stat
course
in.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have, a
Yeah,
gap
like-
for everybody, but
Like,
then that
like,
gap
these
will.
will leave things for you all to deal with, so I know it's not fun. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that it was a state decision, and I know you all do your best here, and I do support, what you're doing. I calculate how much I would pay, but my estimate is below house cost, and I'm willing to pay that to make sure I have proper schools, I have proper investments in my town. I grew up in a very small town, Appalachia, that didn't have these types of investments, and that's all that happened when those towns don't have investment. And I really do care about development in the city, and so I very much appreciate you doing this, even though I know it's probably unpopular with some residents. It's not something that is enjoyable to do, but I appreciate it, even though I know I will be paying first for that way. I also wanted to ask about your other ordinance. I didn't see any teeth with this, so I'd encourage teeth with your truck ordinance. If we are struggling with funds because of SB1, if these businesses are putting extra loads on our roads, which will cost us more money for us to actually pay for the roads, I would encourage taxing them. If there's certain actors that are not following rules, find them. With an ordinance person, go and find them. So that's just a suggestion, especially because I know we're gonna be tight with SB1, and especially if these actors are being paid repeatedly and not listening, done due diligence. It only seems fair that they pay for the damage they did to the roads and to the bridges. I did want to he's here, so, for capital development, tax as well, I assume that could be used for like impact fees support, potentially, if you wanted to make housing developments. That's infrastructure, so for your like wastewater, waterways, so I was just thinking with development that could help, as well. I did want to get your radar, considering when I was looking at your planning, strategic planning thing, I know you want to update the codes for zoning, and I know that has to happen because of HB 1001 passed, so you can be required to update and revise all your zoning codes. All that process, and we all these public meetings before December or January, technically last year, but functionally December because of Christmas. I would encourage you to consider being a little careful with removing some of the agriculture zoning sections related to data centers. We just updated our water, we paid a lot of taxes, I know, to get our water systems updated. Might not be an issue in the boundaries of city, but in the countywide, I'm actually gonna try to figure out when county council meetings, so they can get to know me too. Because I am a little worried about that process and that will facilitate more data centers coming into the boundaries of this county. And I've looked at these and we usually don't have community benefit agreements, which typically would require a certain amount of taxes that are paid. Usually there are a lot of tax benefits, making a lot of resources. So I would just take that as radar if you look at updating zoning laws to just keep that in mind. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody about that. It's just something I'm worried about because I see it happening in North County.
I think we did with our last planning commission, we were up to date with our zoning, because that got brought up,
Yeah.
let's say you have to have, but they didn't give us a year, like 5 years worth, last time we updated, they didn't give us an actual year, they're like, you just gotta update it, okay, well, that 10-year, 5-year,
Yeah.
20-year, what is it? But we just recently redid ours, and I don't think within the city of Delphi, we're gonna even have anything close to having a data center or that extra stuff in here, because we're residential and some industrial, but
Yeah,
not enough that we're
definitely
gonna encompass,
countywide.
data center, so.
Yeah, I'll definitely, it was a.
County commissioners meet first and third Mondays.
First and third Mondays. Yeah, I saw the live stream yesterday. or
Yes,
Thursday. Yeah, I just never get a clear schedule, so I might put somebody for a schedule for them, because that's something I am getting concerned about. In particular, because I know the King's Hydrix people came out today, I believe, in Talk County. So I watched it, and they're talking about even like gas powered plants. And using those, and those, increase asthma risk for children, and they make a lot of noise, they want to look at ordinances, we do noise ordinance, Delphi proper, but anything beyond Delphi proper, obviously, air doesn't stay in one spot, and so a little bit worried about that, but I tried to touch base with them. Outside of that, I know I have a lot of questions, I apologize. I love the idea of updating the thing, for your payroll and all the processes. I do wanna have some questions I would suggest asking to them, the people that are getting that contract. You kind of touched on the data aspect, Ernie, that I did want to ask about in relation to cloud, what are the specific measures that they're taking to protect cloud data? Because every cloud data is a little bit different, how to protect stuff, as well as the AI in particular, if they're using that AI and they're training it on our data, how is that being protected? So are they gonna give us a discount if they're gonna train it on our data? I feel like that's fair, because you're training their model, especially if it's a new thing that's being pushed out there. You are giving them valuable data from customers, residents of Carroll County. It feels fair to ask for some kind of reciprocity for that. Also making sure that it's validated, so certain data models for AI have different levels of validity and how effective they are, so making sure whatever they're training that model on it actually is effectively linking things properly, so you don't have people calling you like, what the heck are you talking about? I don't actually, it's not the right cell. It's just gonna create more chaos, so I would just really dig into the AI aspect, because that is a bit concerning if they're gonna put it on that. I'm not against efficiencies, I'm not against percent of AI, I just wanna make sure that they're, not trying to take stuff without getting something back for it, as well as they're not gonna make more problems for you. And I think that might be it. I'm sorry, this talked at you a lot, but I know you're trying to get the hell out of here, so I was trying to be quick and efficient. But yeah. Tax the trucks, if they're gonna come in the middle of town. That's how I feel about it.
We don't meet the population threshold to incorporate our own tax, we're under the county will tax.
Put in speech on somebody.
Give them a fine, I want to be a fine, we can put on them, if you go through my town and go under my viaduct. You get
The
fine,
yeah.
you get an angry sign, I got quit over the viaduct, so.
There are tons and tons of semis that get past my office every day, and every time they do, I cringe.
Yeah, I live right next to the viaduct, I see them, and I hear them, on the road, and it is dangerous. They are wearing down the roads, and especially because they're, you guys can meet with SB1. That capital tax will help a little bit, but it's, you need to kind of pay the fair share, but.
I want to thank you for pointing these things out.
Yeah.
I wish every citizen in Delphi would go to that much trouble and attend the meetings and say what they think,
Yeah.
instead of just coming up with stuff.
Might not like you all the time, that's okay.
I don't care.
We
You
work,
know, that's not the point.
Laura and I have our own little corner at the state house.
Yeah,
We have our little,
Okay.
well, we might be on one side of the house or the senate, but we're somewhere on.
There's
we work
council
for
in
you.
there.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you all, I know it's not fun work, I know that they did cut you all being SB1. I know it's not fun being at local government level dealing with that fallout. But I think it'd be useful to have that, especially with I know they bring the fire townships too, so that's bringing the fire department, even water, and yeah, I support it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
Any additional public comments?
A problem child. Yes, because Dale is my councilman, I also wanted to voice my support for the capital tax. I think it's a good idea to help supplement what we're losing with SB1 and I also was a strong supporter for the community crossings grant. I had asked that question a couple of council sessions ago, and that's sad to hear that the funding for that is gonna be slashed, but I understand we have to make some cuts. So hopefully with the tax, we can keep some more of the important parts going, so that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Further public comments? Mary, one last question.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning the April sixth common council meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Meeting adjourned at 7:05.